It is the end of 2021, right? The end of the first season of Nobody Told Me with Mike and Blaine. And I'm going to tell you what, this is great. I can't believe we made it all year, Blaine.
Oh, I know. It was a great year. We got we didn't quite make 24, but we got awfully close. So next year we'll double it. We'll have some good numbers next year. So.
Easy with those big bold goals.
Yeah, we find pretty good excuses for missing weeks here and there. So, but it's been a good year. We got a lot done. So.
Yeah, so this is episode number 22. And again, I just want to tell people, I have to tell people kind of at the top of the show here that if you want to find us, you want to listen to us, we're on any type of directory. It doesn't matter. Apple, Spotify, we're on them all. Alexa, tune in. I mean, all of those ones. We even got our own website, mikeandblaine.com. So it's mikeandblaine.com. Pretty easy to remember. Matter of fact, even I remember it. And there we got a new widget on there called Buy Us a Beer. You don't have to, but it's kind of a fun thing. We're just seeing who's doing it. So be the first, right? Nobody's done it yet. Nobody's done it. So be the first. I might do it just to see how it works.
Maybe I can guilt my wife into buying us a beer.
There you go. And then again on YouTube. So if you want to see what it's look like, matter of fact, talking about what people look like, my partner looks different every time I see him.
I shaved for no good reason. I shaved my beard off, looked in the mirror, feel really weird. But I grow a beard so fast, it'll be back like literally by next episode. I'll have a bit of a beard going already. Because I feel like really bizarre without it. I don't know. I just wasn't really thinking. I just got in the mood the other day and kept going.
So you went from no shave November to shave everything but my eyebrows December.
December. Well, I don't have anything else to go on. It's man, it's just I feel really weird without it. I don't know why I did that. Just and you know, like I don't know if earlier in our episodes did I have that beard that was down halfway down my chest because I had a really long beard, my COVID beard.
I think in the very beginning, yeah, you did.
So but I maybe I look younger. I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but.
Well, I'm monkeying with mine. Mine is normally when I misread the gauge on the on the trimmer, and I go, I'm like, oh, now I got to make the whole thing look better. And I don't know. I mean, you're kind of different. We talked about this right before the show, but every time I shave, everyone in my life says, "Don't do that again," because there's something about a round face and a small chin they hate.
I think I look bizarre. My wife seems to like it if I shave every once in a while. I guess I probably look like except I had hair when I was clean cut when I was younger. So I don't know if I look at, I just feel bizarre. But anyway, if you're seeing us on TV, that's, there was nothing really intentional. It was a spur of the moment and not liking it. The beard will be back soon. So
that's funny. So, all right. So last week, right, we had our first fight, our first disagreement, and we were talking cold emails and calling, and I'm like, man, we should just do an episode on that phone. How you using the phone? Is it even possible to use the phone? We sit kind of on opposite side of the fence, but I think it's more similar than you think. So today we're going to talk about that. But hey, let's drink some beer.
Yeah, for sure, man. What do you got going?
All right, so we've got a little liquor store right over by where I live, and the owners turned me on to this new one, right? It's Saloon Brewing, and they're based out of Webster, Texas. And I haven't tried them before. I haven't even seen them. They're brand new, but they're known for all these flavored type beers, and it's interesting to me. So because it's Happy New Year, I'm going with Happy Holidiculous. It's a ridiculous name that you can't say. Holidiculous, but it's salted caramel within a stout, right? Within a Russian Imperial stout. And again, south of Houston, right north of Galveston, right down South Texas. So we're going to give it a shot.
I had a salted caramel stout was it yesterday or the day before? I'm trying to remember if it was Dragon's Milk, I think. I'm trying to remember, but it was delicious. So, but what I got going today, and it's heavy.
It's like normally when you get this kind of light flavor behind a stout. No, dude, this is full flavored up front. First thing that hits your tongue is that salted caramel. It's really good.
Pretty heavy beer, probably 10%.
Well, that's a good question. Oh shit! I better be careful. It's 11.9. No wonder they only sell it in a 4-pack.
That's those ones are the barrel aged are always a little bit heavy. So I've got caught with a few of those on this show. My beer today. Okay, this is a very cool can. It's
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see it. It's called Adroit Theory,
Mhm.
and it is from Percival, Virginia. And I was mentioned before the show, like I cracked a beer and then I went, oh, we're on right away. Well, I guess this will be my beer today because I already cracked it. Um, so I had to look it up and see it's the Elegy Fear Edition. And this is kind of funny. It's 2724 out of 6,000. So I guess it's a very short run on beer, but it's a delicious beer, really cool, crazy can. So yeah.
What a design, right? What is a design?
It's just cool. I don't know, weird skull. You can't even see it from back there, so I don't know why I put it back there. I just see ears in the background. I think I should, but
I always do that, right? I'm one of those. Maybe one of these days, one of these brewers will go, "Oh, I kind of like that," maybe, and send us a beer.
send us a sticker at least.
Yeah, a sticker or something. Come on, hey, acknowledge that we live.
Exactly.
So the phone, right? All right. So I have first of all, it's a basic philosophy that if a salesman is afraid of the phone, I don't hire him. Yeah. What do you think?
Totally agree. And a friend of mine told me one time, and this is probably a not uncommon way to do an interview, but it was either him or someone he knew. Like when a salesman comes in, he would push the phone across the desk and say, here's a phone number. And he just wants to see, like, they don't even know enough about the product, but he wants to see, do they pick up the phone? And it's like, ready to go. And it was just a little acid test to do at the beginning of an interview. Slide the phone over and see if they have any hesitancy, right?
Yeah, that's Wolf of Wall Street stuff, right? Sell me this pencil or sell me this pen.
Exactly. But you know what? Like it is a good little, probably a good little acid test to see, right? Because the one thing with phone is like you have to do volume. Now I'm learning all this with my experience on phone is more limited for generating sales like this. I'm doing all this based on experience coming from our team and our director of development and how he's got everything going. So I've learned a ton from that. But if you do it right, it can work.
I would agree, but I think it's totally evolved. I can remember. All right, so I took a job just calling while I was waiting to get into the highway patrol. Right, I had there was a couple of months between leaving the Army and going into the highway patrol that I had to find something to do just for money. So I took this job, and it was helping an insurance agent just get appointments. Yeah. And really what it was making, I don't know how many calls a night to set him 2, 3, 4 appointments. And I tell you, in the early 90s, this was probably 92, 93. And it was scary. Here I am, 22, 23 years old, but it's at the point in life where like going, must be how it's done, right? Because they have a list. And it was just, you remember those dot matrix printers, with the dots on the side? They were just folded and folded and folded. And this agent had stacks this high of just names, addresses, phone numbers. And it was just one after another. I just dial. And then like an auto dialer today, I had to dial. Yeah. And call up and try to get somebody to take an appointment just to talk about their insurance or their whatever it was. Yeah. And wow, I'm gonna tell you what, if you ever want to be depressed, I mean, one of the reasons why I was so excited to be a trooper was I don't have to get on that phone. So, but I mean, and then I look now, whereas you don't see a lot of just buying a list, calling people out of the blue. You don't see that as much. So I've seen kind of an evolution of the phone that I think we should talk about today.
Yeah. And it's like our argument last week, like we actually have it working pretty good, right? I haven't done a lot of it. I know in my agency days, one of my colleagues would do, like we would always research who was around and see who was moved, and especially in government, we would look at the news. This is back in the newspaper days. We look in the newspaper at the career section, and we could see the department of whatever is hiring a new director or new this or that, and we'd be like, yeah, we're gonna be on the phone like in a week or 2 weeks, because as soon as someone new comes in, they want to do something new, right? And that actually worked quite well for us. But I did some door to door, and I was fairly successful at it, but I was even before doing phone stuff. So I sort of got to skip the phone part, I think, for a lot of the cold calling.
Well, isn't that the same, except for now you got to look the guy in the eye?
Yeah. And I was that was back in my university days when I was doing painting. And my boss just said, well, we need some more jobs. Does anyone want to go door to door? I'll just pay a commission on, and it was actually, looking back, just a crappy commission, but I was making more doing that than the painting. Like, it's pretty easy. I go door to door, bang on the door and convince them to get something painted on their house. That was fine like that. I was pretty good at it. And I didn't have any technique, didn't know how to do sales, but apparently I could do enough sales to get these appointments booked for a quote, right?
Yeah. Well, I think if you're going to be successful in business, you're going to have to be able to knock on a door, pick up the phone. I think email is kind of an easier way to open the door, but you're going to eventually have to talk to the person somehow.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases.
Yeah. And I know, like, just like talking with our team, I know I think it depends a lot on who your market is. Like, this can't be just a blanket statement. Like, it has to be, you have to be selling something that, first of all, has enough value to cover your costs and be very profitable. So you cannot do, I don't think, phone sales on a $20 something or other. Like, it has to be thousands of dollars to make it, I think, worth able to do it, because you have to do so many phone calls. Top of the funnel, you do a crap load of phone calls, and they get this many meetings, and this many people show up to the meetings, and then this many people out of that show up to the meeting end up buying your product, right? And the math has to work out. But if the math works out, I think the next part is the quality of your list, like you mentioned, is critical, right? Early days, we bought a small list, like a tester list. We convinced them to give us a small list we could test it and see if that, and it was worthless. It was absolutely worthless. And we went from there and going, okay, well, where are our customers hanging out? And we got to do our own research and find out who's likely wants to talk with us, because what we offer them is really valuable, which means we can build a high quality list and it can work. But we can have list A and list B with slightly different channels or different groups of people. And one can wildly outperform the other. And you're just learning all the time who likes to answer the phone, right? And it makes a huge difference. It just either complete failure or really a solid, repeatable success.
Yeah. I think if you warm it up, if there's some type of, oh, I know who this is, your chances go up quite a bit. First of all, they need your stuff. They know who you are. The chances of them talking to you on the phone is a lot more likely. What got us in the fight last week was when I said, I don't think anybody buys anything off of a cold call anymore. Meaning I don't know who you are. I don't know what you're selling. You're not going to call me. First of all, you're not going to get me on the phone, because if you're not in my address book, I'm not going to answer it. You're going to go right to voicemail.
Totally agree. Well, I don't answer the phone either, but I'll validate one thing where if we have, if the person's a little bit warm, let's say we've connected with them on LinkedIn or something, way more likely to answer the phone and book an appointment. But we've run a really solid funnel. Basically pre that, when it's like, oh, that's working even better, let's do that. We have done a lot of sales out of just pure, we built a list, pure cold call. But the difference is, no one has my cell phone online or anything, so I don't think anyone can find it anyway. And then I don't answer it. Like, I actually, the other day I checked a voicemail. Someone emailed me and said, I left a voicemail for you a couple of days ago. I'm like, what the hell did you do that for? Like, email, text, I get right away. Voicemail, I may never get. So I was a little bit, oh shoot, I should check that every once in a while. But when we're cold calling, it's an office number, someone answers the phone. And so I think that's a difference too, is it's who are you calling and is it the right fit? And what are you saying that cuts through the barriers really quickly?
All right. So anymore, how would you know it's not a cell phone, an office number? See that?
Oh, I don't know if we do, but I think you're right that if it's someone's cell phone, I think they're less likely to answer than an office line. And so I suspect that would probably at least get somebody to answer, but it'll be likely a gatekeeper, right?
Yeah. Well, and then nowadays, all right. So I don't know that I don't know when the first ones came in, but now on here, it's got like scam likely. Have you seen that? I use Apple, and I don't know how they know it or even how they identify it. But if it says scam likely, I'm definitely not answering it, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen that actually. But I don't answer my phone, and I block if I see the same number like 5 times and they haven't left a message. I just block the number.
I block every time I don't know the number like that.
Yeah,
likely.
Yeah, exactly. And we have do not call lists in Canada. So up in Canada, it's easier to you just to say, yeah, put me on the do not call list, and then it narrows in really narrow of who's allowed to call, right? So it gets a little bit trickier, and I think it's on its last legs, to be honest. Like I do agree that I think cold calling phone is on its last legs a bit, but we're still seeing success, and we're seeing more success than we do get some success out of email, but we just have not cracked that one as well.
All right, so I think I see where you and I differ, right? It may be in definition, because I think a cold call is, I don't know you, you don't know what I sell, you don't even know if you want it, right? Yeah. That's a cold call to me. I just came across your number somehow, maybe at a conference. I got a list. I don't know. Somehow I got your number. Maybe I don't know how I got your number. We'll just say that. Versus you, where maybe they did see you at a conference, or maybe they did respond to an email, or maybe they did download a white paper. They gave you their phone number. That's not cold to me.
Gave your phone number is gold. Yeah, if they did that, that's different. No, we do legit. We've moved away. We want it as warm as possible. So we've got like through LinkedIn and everything else, we're doing a lot warmer calls now. But I'm telling you, like for probably the first half of like our maybe back in 2020 or something, it was literally like we made a list and just total out of the blue phone call. But there's maybe there's a good chance they'd heard of us, right? Like because that actually makes a big difference too. Like a huge difference is did they see us at a conference? Did they see a booth somewhere? Did they see our logo on this, that, the other? Did they see something on LinkedIn? Even if we've never ever talked with them, if the business name sounds familiar, I'm sure they're way more likely to like answer that call, or you say, oh, I'm with so and so. Okay, like, oh, yeah, I'll chat with you, right?
So here's something I did, recently with calling, right? Because I usually run small teams, when we're starting up, trying to get something going. But I've outsourced appointment setting, right? Where I'm providing them with hey, these people touch me, these people touch me, these people touch me, and feeding, leads out. Or they're also doing, an outsourced firm can also do some of that LinkedIn. Like you've seen the stuff we've talked about in the past, where you get the same message, automated message or anything like that. But I've had success at a good price doing that. And let me explain. As long as I was able to give them good qualifications, I want, a bookkeeper or accountant that uses QuickBooks, in the United States. If I can narrow it like that, I can get great calls out of it. Yeah. Right. If I leave it too loose, because we tried to go, not the accountant, go to the end user, which was a small business owner. It was a little bit more vague. It's not as good. Right. Because then maybe they didn't connect to QuickBooks, or maybe they didn't, who knows, maybe they're a one-man shop and don't care about any type of financial analysis or anything like that. But they were setting 2 to 5 appointments a day. Right. at about $30,000 a year. You can't hire a full-time person to do that. Now, yeah, and the company I'm talking about is Callbox. So if you never heard of them before, Callbox, they'll do LinkedIn campaigns, emails, they'll do webinars to help you generate leads and set appointments, right? Have somebody calling all day long to just set appointments, and then your team can run the appointments. You just have to put in a lot of time up front. It's going to take you 2 months of being frustrated because they're trying to figure it out, right? It's just like if you bring somebody into your place right out the box, you got to figure it out. Yeah. Of what is it that I'm selling? They got to have conversations kind of like you do to get to the appointment, but they only need a little bit of information. They don't need what your sales team has. They just need a little bit. Yeah. So, but for $30,000 a year, you've got a full-time team doing that for you, and they're going to, put it in there. Now, did people show up? You might have a 60% show rate, or 50% show rate. But again, it's supplementing what you're doing. I know your team's doing it as well, but here's somebody also helping fill your pipeline. And again, you can't hire a full-time team for that. And you're getting a social media person, a caller, and a project manager to manage all that with real-time data coming in every day on what they're doing and who they call.
I'm going to check that out because when I've checked out sort of appointment booking services like that, the fees were always, I found, really high. That seems really reasonable.
30,000 sounds high.
No, that seems really reasonable compared to because I've talked with firms to be like, 5, 6, 7,000 a month. And you're like, yeah, is that giving me like how many calls? Like, are you actually, because it's not a team, and so some of the when I've checked sometimes it's been I'm like, I can hire someone and really make sure they're on top of it and are part of our culture and everything. At 30,000, that's a different sort of thing. And if they can book 2, 3, 5 meetings a day, but if they could do 2 or 3 meetings a day, we'll turn that into money. Like, that's a really, really solid number, right? Like,
no, and I'll tell you what, I was against it at first. I mean, I was against it, didn't want to do it, but we tried it. And again, there's some frustration that you're going to go through. And remember, you got to negotiate this stuff up front. They're going to shape some ridiculous number up front. And that's where we landed. It was around $30,000 for the year for that team. Yeah. If we paid up front, right? And we committed to 12 months, those type of things.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's really interesting. But were you delivering a list to them as well, or were they doing some of that homework to figure out who to call?
No, they'll actually curate a list for you. They have ways to generate a list. They already have lists, things like that. What they'll do is filter it down, kind of like Zoom Info does, or what Zoom Info.
Yeah, Zoom Info.
They've got kind of a similar thing, but you got to give them the right criteria. And where we struggled at first was, what the hell's the right criteria? Because when we got unqualified people come to the table, no matter how great a conversation I had, I couldn't sell it to them anyway.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the biggest differences for us was how we've, like I said, we do our own research. We build our own list to call. But our qualification has gotten so much tighter. Like we have so much better of an idea of who to talk with, who wants us, right? Who we've been really successful selling to. And that makes a world of difference, like just a massive difference. Otherwise, because when if someone's calling, they're doing 150 calls a day and maybe booking 2, 3, 5 appointments. Well, you can see if it's the wrong list, you're not booking any, right? And then it's like just time wasted and money wasted.
And I've got to tell you, I mean, these outsourced companies, even if they're overseas, have really gotten a lot better at assimilating, right? It used to be one of the reasons I didn't like it was I couldn't hardly understand the accent, right? The great people could do everything right, but the accent kind of turned me off because I couldn't understand it, right? So it was frustrating. That really doesn't exist as much today. There's a lot better assimilation into whatever market they're selling in. I'm sure if they're selling into India, they've got an Indian accent, or they're already in India. If they're selling into, Canada, it's English or Americanized English, Western English, but they're a lot better and they assimilate better. And that's probably a controversial statement, but it's a fact of life that, you want to be able to be a chameleon in sales. And what I mean by that is talk to your customer the way they like to be talked to, because your chances of success are a lot higher.
Yeah. You have to be relatable. You have to, and it's just, and when it really comes down to here, because you're the same way as me, it's conversion rates. Like you have this funnel, you have this conversion rate. And like I said, like there's any number of little things from qualification through to who's calling and everything else, can either up or drop that conversion rate. And it either makes it like it can be really repeatable and successful, or it can be a complete and utter failure. And the difference between the two is not often that far. It can be, making sure you're calling the right people, having the right script, like all these little things can just really make it effective or not. And so it all matters, because it either works or it doesn't, right?
Let me ask you. All right. So this is kind of a funny thing. Do you like a script versus ad hoc, or, which do you prefer as a manager and as a consumer?
When I say a script, at least for what our team's doing, it's not reading off of a script, but it's knowing this is how we're going to approach them. This is how we're going to introduce ourselves. And then as soon as they start talking, I imagine it's going to start going wherever it goes, right? But we have the ways that you're going to kind of respond to this. If they're asking about this is kind of, because everyone's got to be on the same page, and it's like you said, it's not trying to book anybody for a meeting. It's like you want to book people that are qualified, so that they're much more likely to be a success. So you're not wasting their time, and they're not wasting your time either. Mm-hmm. And so not a script where, hello, I'm John, and like reading off of I think that's likely to get hung up on right away. And again, conversion rate goes down, but there has to be that story that is going to be effective, that seems to work.
What was happening in, I'm going to say around 2012, 13, 14. We implemented a sales process called the Sandler sales process. I don't know if you've ever heard it or anything like that.
I hear the commercials every morning, and they're just, I'll tell you, the Edmonton commercials are kind of hard to take. But after you hear every morning.
It's harsh, right? It's a harsh thing. But what we did was I called it Sandler Light, because there's some things I'm going, I can't tell somebody that. I have to soften the approach a little bit. But what's funny is that there's a process. And if you're doing the process as a salesperson, you immediately know when somebody else is doing it to you.
Yep.
So because it started out with this acronym called a ton. It was like agenda, time, I'm going to have questions, you're going to have questions, and at the end, blah, 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 blah. Yep. So when you hear somebody say this, I'm going, hey, listen, we use Sandler too. Just talk to me. I'm interested in the product, but don't put me through all that.
Yeah.
Because I know it's going to take a lot of time. I'm like, oh, no. Listen, I don't have to go through these things. Here's my budget. Here's my.
Yeah. And it's like, we go through a really like a strict process with our customers as well. But they can leap forward really quickly if it's like, hey, they're all right up here, but we just have to know, okay, where are you? Oh, you're up here. Okay, great. We can jump to that. And we kind of know where you're at. And, but the process helps a lot. It's again, it's repeatable. It's, and it's just proven to work. And I don't come from that space. Like when I had my agency, I did a lot of sales. I didn't have any process. Well, we did, but not something as disciplined as that. It was so much, for us, it was so much relationship building and gaining that credibility and that trust, and delivering and getting those repeat customers, because they're like, yeah, you killed it last time, right? So it was, my whole thing was all so much about building relationship, but these were big, long, massive projects. So it was a very different way to sell than what we're doing now. So it's some of it is kind of unfamiliar to me. I'm learning a lot on the fly on how that works, where it's a very repeatable, process-driven sales process.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So the script to me, I think it's a guide anymore. And if you see some of these automated like script flows, have you ever seen that in the CRM where, ask about this, and if they say that, ask this question. If they say this,
I've seen a demo of it, but I've never used it or anything. Right. So
what's kind of cool about it is that where drop off happens and you can adjust the script. Otherwise, you don't know where you lose somebody, right?
Yeah.
It kind of helps you filter it out. Hard to set up, a lot of work, a lot of effort, and you hope the person just doesn't read it.
Yeah.
The training aspect has to come off like a conversation. Oh, really? What about this then? So you got to make it like a conversation. Here's where I think scripting went bad, and they're doing a great job correcting it. I thought that support scripting, and I'm talking about telephone use now, because remember when you had an IT troubleshooting call, they always had to go through a step-by-step. Okay, do this, do that. I mean, this, and I'm like, oh no, I've done those 5 things. Here's where I get stuck, and they wouldn't deviate from the script. Yes, sir. We have to go through these 8 steps. Well, I've already went through them because I just called you yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think they're doing a lot better job now in support on the phone, even when it's scripting. And I think now support is a great place to upsell, right? To upsell, to get something new, to introduce a new product. I mean, it's one of the best ways. There's a theory out there that customer success is the most important sales team you have. And here's the thing, in a subscription-based model, in the early years, right, it's about 100%, then it goes 90, 80% of your revenue comes from new customers. But there's a point when it flips and goes the other way. And most mature companies on a revenue system that's subscription-based are earning 70+% of their revenue from recurring subscriptions, right? And only 30% of new growth is coming from new sales. So what does that tell you? You need to start focusing on the back door, make sure people don't get out, and increasing the value of those customers, because all your money is coming from your current customer base, not new customers. Right? So if you think about cable, if you think about, who knows, Netflix, all of their money comes from current customers.
Yeah. And it always shocks me especially cable, they don't seem to want to keep you as a customer. They really don't seem to care. You just go to another service, go back and forth. That's how you get a deal every time. It's bizarre to me because it costs so much to get a new customer, right?
Or they think you're going to come back anyway. You come in different. Like, oh, yeah, we're both the same. You're going to get mad. If you're mad at us today, in 2 years, you're going to be mad at them. You'll come back.
Oh, it's totally true. But what I tend to do, and I've done it, I don't know how many times, is I come in on the 2-year ridiculously cheap deal. At the end of my 2 years, I flip to the other company and come in on their 2-year ridiculously cheap deal. And it's like, if you guys just actually treated me well, I'd probably just be too lazy just to switch.
How do you know that's not their regular price?
Well, it might be, except
they show you the other way, knowing that nobody's going to stick around for that.
Yeah, like if you stick with it, you're just going to get killed. So it's almost like, man, just charge me 10% more, but hang on to me. Treat me better than the other guys because the service is so bad on all of them. Like, it seems like a really weird business model to me, but they obviously done the math. They know it works, right? It just seems strange to me. Yeah.
So have you ever had a poor phone call? You're like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Oh, I have the I'm more on the fundraising side, right? When I've been talking with potential investors and VCs and that. And the good thing, like it's almost a good thing because you have a lot of calls and they seem to go really, really well. And then one will go really kind of poorly and you go, yeah, those other ones were pretty good. Yeah. Because they just did not care. That did not care. And it helps validate everything else. So it doesn't really bother me. I was just kind of, it's funny. Like at this point, if I'm doing a call like that, I want to get off the call more than them. It's like, you're wasting my time. Like I've done a million of these things. You're wasting my time too, you know?
And you know, what's funny is that I went back and forth between how I handle it afterwards, right? Because I don't want to carry, I used to think I don't want to carry my influence, meaning that person got to me. They beat me up on the phone. I was I was a motherfucker for this, whatever it is. Yeah. Hey, part of that's probably the worst I've cussed on this.
we got to push the other button on the upload now. The mic
right. but it's one of those things like going, it kind of got to me. I'm like, all I did was just call you to see if you wanted, whatever it was. I was telling. And it got to me. So I would get up from the desk, reset, I make a little walk, I'd get a drink of water, come back, go right back to it. And now I'm like going, yeah, whatever. I don't personalize it, right? I don't personalize. I'm like going, yeah, get that. And I'll laugh about it. And I'll move to the next one. I want to move to the next one as quick as I can because I want to get that off the plate, right? Out of my space.
Yeah, no, that's and I haven't done like on the fundraiser, I've done a ton of calls, but just sales. Like I said, with my experience in sales is very much relationship building and all that. But it was different and long term, and we weren't just doing cold calls like that. But I know my team, I can tell they're just that is like, yeah, on to the next, because they've reached the, they've got to the point where they've done so many and they've had a lot of wins, and they know people, when they find the right person, they love us, and that's great. And they want to hear from them. And so the ones that go south are just like, yeah, that whatever, right?
Yeah, the only way to get over your fear of the phone is use it. Right. Yep. The only way you can swim is get in the water and swim. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly it. And you develop a thick skin. Like that's the one thing I know from my age now to when I was in my 20s, or even probably maybe even my early 30s. Like I just still have a thicker skin, and I'm a lot more, good or bad, I'm just a lot more blunt than I think I was how many years ago. A lot more sort of demanding and just straight up blunt. And I don't mean anything by it. It's just, that's it. That's the reality, right?
You know what's funny about being blunt is it doesn't waste anybody's time.
Well, that's what I figure.
Yeah, I don't when people are blunt on a big journey, to land in the same spot we're going to be at.
No, it's it's like my co-founder, like I love having conversations with him because both of us are just like, you have this goal in mind of where you want to get to. And neither of us are like, we're just straight up blunt, and neither of us ever takes anything personally. You're just kind of like, yeah, no, I get that. Well, what do you think of that? We can have a bit of an argument and go, got it. Yeah, you're totally right. And you get to that, like, debate is so critical because you get to a vetted answer, like a challenged answer really fast. And you're not just going with the smoothest answer, which oftentimes isn't the best one, right?
Yeah. All right. So we don't necessarily like scripts, but I think you need some type of outline. You need a guidance.
Some type of guide.
Yeah. Or at least a process, right? Even if you're going through a demo, there's a way to introduce the demo. There's a way to walk through the demo that doesn't waste people's time. And there's a way to close the demo, right? I mean, if you've got, or even a phone call, it doesn't have to be a demo. It can be just about your service. If you're telling me about your HVAC service, that's your demo to me.
Yeah.
Right. So I think there's at least 3 parts. Hey, why should I have it? What does it do? Then ask for the sale. I think it's as easy as that, right? What do you think?
Yeah, well, in essence, I think there's like we go through a bit of a longer process to make sure that it's like they're just through that qualification to make sure that it's a good fit for them, it's a good fit for us. We want them to be successful because otherwise it's going to waste everybody's time down the road. They're going to leave or whatever. So it's like, let's find out early if it's going to be a success or not. And because it isn't a one and done, like with our customers, we're keeping them for years, right? And so it's a little bit, probably is all the same stuff in a way, but it's a longer process to make sure it's like, they're going to be a good fit for us and for them as well. And it's like we go through, I know the guys use, I don't know if I have it written down somewhere, they use a system, like a process called I keep hearing you process and process. And I keep I can't help it. I just like interchange them because it's like half here, half there. one's Canadian, one's American, and I can't pick one.
Yeah, you're assimilating.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. That's exactly it. But yeah, no, we go through where they go through this decision-making process to just validate that it's the right fit, and they're going to see the return on investment, and it's going to make sense for them. It's going to make sense for us. And have you looked at like we literally encourage our customers, look at the competition. Here's a list. Do your homework. Go call them, because we know we're gonna show really well compared to them. And we want them to do that. So when they finally come in and go, yeah, here's my credit card, and here we're going to go, they're going to stick around, and they're going to use us. They're going to be successful, right?
Mm-hmm. No, I think that's critically important. I mean, you got to have the right customer with the right problem, or try to solve the problem.
Yeah.
I just think that, the process on a phone, I don't see long phone calls anymore. Here I am, and I just got off of an hour and a half phone call. And I just did an hour podcast, kind of like a phone call, but
yeah.
But in general, my phone calls aren't lasting that long anymore.
Yeah. I would say my number of phone calls a week are, I can't even say a week. I probably have a couple phone calls a month at this point. Everything is on Zoom, Slack, text, email. No, I call my parents probably about, like once a week. My parents, but I'm also sometimes do FaceTime. But I don't do business calls anymore.
I'm almost all FaceTime. I'm looking at it now, and it could be 1 to 3 a day, but I've got 3 daughters and 3 granddaughters. It's best friends, and it's been holidays.
Yeah.
I'm the same way. I'm only using the phone right now to communicate with people I know.
Yeah. It's family and friends. It's even then it's
a Sprint plan, right? It was a Sprint that did the friends and family plan.
Could be that.
Who was it that said you can only call these 5 for free? Who did that?
That sounds familiar.
It was like a friends and family plan, and you pick 5 people, and those 5 people, all calls between you were free. See, it didn't work then because I had all these other calls. And you paid by the minute or whatever. Remember the cell phone?
Yep.
But now I'm like going, I think I've really graduated to the the 2005 Sprint friends and family.
Exactly. They were just ahead of their time by a few years.
Yeah,
I could do the same thing. I could probably do phone calls with like 2, 3, 4. That'd be it. Like family. That's it. Because even my friends, we text and then we hop on like Zoom and stuff. Like I don't do phone. I feel really weird when I'm on the phone now. Like it's just, I can hear you, but I can't see you. And it just feels weird to me.
All right. So that's interesting. We haven't talked about that, because this could be the phone. This isn't maybe this is the new phone.
Yeah. Like we can't sort of dial in this way. So like we do the call, we get the meeting booked. Meetings are all Zoom. We don't do any phone meetings. Like it's all Zoom. It's just literally getting an appointment booked. That's the only thing the phone's used for.
All right. So so the phone is just to get their attention, but the meeting takes place, here on Zoom.
And you know what? I don't think anyone phones. I'll ask my team. I don't think anyone phones us for sales or support. Like rarely. We have a 188 or 1855 number that we goes to all the different places and all the different people. I don't think we get virtually anything. It comes through chat, email. That's usually where it starts, chat or email. And it's just what shows up, right?
Yeah. I almost never get a phone call for business. Just don't, unless it's somebody personal that knows me and says, hey, Mike, I need this.
Yeah.
And even then, they're more likely to give me a text or an email.
Yeah.
Before calling me.
Yep.
All right. So really weird. All right. So are you old enough to remember? And I'm gonna close with this. Are you?
Yes.
The oldest phone, the oldest phone system you remember using?
Oh well, it's the rotary. Like
yeah.
Oh yeah. And
how many did you have in your house?
Oh, well, I think when I was like really young, I think we may have just had one, and it was just like a rotary,
Yeah.
dialer, right? And at that point, not even there was no answering machine. I was going to say voicemail, but no, it was at that time it was answering machine. So it was yeah, that was a different world, right? Like a completely different world. There are no cell phones or not. There was a one like rotary phone in the house.
We had one rotary phone in the house, and my mom replaced the line to an extra long one so she could walk farther.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I wasn't allowed to use the phone. I couldn't even answer it. My dad wouldn't even let me touch the phone. Like, because I mean, you gotta remember, even 10 miles out of town was a long distance call.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Just like 5 miles out of town was a long distance call. So it was a crazy time with being able to communicate on the phone. And what was funny is that what brings this up is that the other day, some city has re-implemented or has never discontinued it, time and temperature. You remember calling that?
Really?
Yeah.
I do. I remember it like as a
somebody
kid.
has brought that back. Yeah.
Nice. That's yeah, because I still remember setting a watch. I would phone time to reset my watch, which was probably 10, 15 minutes off because it was some piece of crap watch, right? So
yeah, but I remember us calling in the morning. All right, so there was two things I could call when I was a kid. One was time and temperature, which means you call it up and says the time is 8:02. The temperature is 37 degrees Fahrenheit, whatever it is. And that was it.
Yeah.
Well, now they got something where it's sponsored and it's more of like a 20-second ad, about it, but they tell you the information. The other one is our local library had a thing called Dial a Story, where you dialed in and it was a recorded story and it was like maybe 3 minutes long, and kids could call it. And it's like, my dad was like going, yeah, I'm tired of telling you stories at night. Just call this number.
Call this number. Here, put a speed dial. Oh man.
So it's funny. All right. So what's the verdict? All right. So I think it's changed. If you're probably my age or whatever, what I used to think of smile and dialing for dollars, whatever you want to call it, I think that's evolved. Yeah. I think you need a little bit of a touch. I don't care where it comes from, but they kind of got to have seen you somewhere, an email, an ad, or something. I think. Then they're more receptive, more likely to answer your call. But the goal is to set the appointment for something else.
Yeah, exactly. And I think we've been really successful at it. But I think the one thing that's really hard to validate is that those other touches, but they're very likely there. They've probably seen us at least. It's a quality of the list, the guide, not the script, but the guide, all of those things together. You have to do your homework and do it right and make sure you're talking to the right people at the right time with the right story. Then you can be successful.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, did you notice usually, I think if you go back over the last 22 episodes, I've had 2 beers during the episode. I think that, what is it, 11-9?
11-9, you might just want to do the one.
It slowed me down quite a bit. But hey, email versus phone versus email. I think there's a use still for phone. I don't know where it's going to go. If you had to make a guess, and this is going to close the show for us. If you had to make a guess, where's phone at in 5 years?
The way we're doing it now, I think will probably be gone. There'll be some other way to reach people. But I probably could have thought that 5 years ago too. And somehow the one place you can dial someone and get them is still the phone. So maybe I'm wrong. See, like we talked last week. I remember the one thing we said is email, the chat and text and that has saved email because it's now almost like regular mail, and all the other stuff is you don't have to do correspondence for team stuff and everything anymore. I wonder if it could be the same with phone, is if maybe it evolves, maybe a lot of the spam calls and everything disappear and that you just don't get very many calls and the odd one gets through, or maybe it's completely gone. It'll be interesting to see how it evolves, but I don't know if I count it out.
Yeah, maybe 5 years is too soon, but I think in 10 years we won't be doing it the same. I think more than likely you might end up with a notification based on geography, what you say into this microphone or Alexa over there, where it goes, oh, you're interested in that?
But we started that in the 2000s and we started going, and it's now privacy is what is the issue. So now everybody seems to opt out of everything. And that could be the result in 5-10 years, is that the technology is long since there, but nobody lets anybody do that. Then how do you get to people? So that's going to be the tricky part is, man, it might be going back old school and taping a flyer to someone's door, because there might be the only way that you could actually get to somebody, because they put, they just opt out of everything. And then you just can't, man, it's hard to rely on them to find you. It's really hard to, as a business, to expect that they'll see their problem and go search for an answer for it.
All right. So you just gave me this great idea. In 2022, we're going to have an episode where we just dream the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it'll probably be the first episode I've prepared for. Like we normally just walk in and go, oh, what are we talking about today? And then have a conversation. Yeah. Think, man, let's dream about it. I mean, you never know.
I'll give you a preview right now. There's going to be an Apple car that's going to drive around the neighborhood by itself with a t-shirt cannon, and it's going to shoot, and boom, on the front door, if someone opens the door, there's a t-shirt. Open it up.
Yeah.
Come visit us.
Yeah, I'm not that. Oh, got it. All right. That might work. That's better than door to door.
It's sort of door to door, except automated.
All right. Well, I could go a different, because there's already a mechanism in place you already have DoorDash, Uber, Grubhub. You already have a mechanism to get all the way across everybody. So anyway, hey, great one. I'm still going to use the phone, but I'm going to use it when people reach out to me in some way and say, I want more information, or meaning more information, like going, hey, that was interesting. I saw what you did here and I downloaded your blog. Okay, boom. I'm going to go and contact you, because I still think you have to let them know you're interested too. It isn't just one-sided, it's two-sided. And man, Happy New Year. Be safe this weekend.
You as well, man. And we'll talk in 2022.
2022. And if you want to catch up on season 1, because this is the end of season 1, you can go to YouTube or you can go to mikeandblaine.com, and we're going to see you in season 2, 2022.